The biggest lessons I've learned in my life are here. Through different topics, I'm going to inspire and motivate you to reach your success and your dreams. I'm so grateful that you're here on Journey to Success. So let's enjoy my next episode together. Welcome, Manohar, to the Fabio podcast. We are delighted to have you as our special guest today. Your story of overcoming insomnia through the power of yoga is truly remarkable. So thank you for joining us and inspiring our listeners with your journey. How are you?
Thank you, Fabio, for inviting me. Yeah, I'm doing good.
All right. Perfect. So, let's begin then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just would like to begin with an open question with you.
Mhm.
So, while many people are familiar with insomnia, could you tell us something that most people don't know about it?
Okay.
In your opinion, what is
Yeah.
something that we don't know? Because we basically know what is insomnia, right?
hmm
But can you tell us something that actually we don't know?
Okay. So basically, one thing which I can definitely tell Fabio is many times the problem is, yeah, sleep is definitely a problem for sure.
Yeah,
And the biggest mistake which most people having insomnia try to do is they want to sleep ASAP, which is to they try harder and harder and harder to sleep. So in fact, I did the same mistake. I'm no exception in
okay.
that. But the problem is, like I was reading this book called Restful Sleep by Deepak Chopra, where what he says is sleep is very natural to human beings. And as a matter of fact, every living creature, as the sun and the moon is there. So the sun rises and the moon once the sun sets. So it is nature which is doing these things. So there is no voluntary control on it. So sleep is also as natural to human beings as that. But the problem is with the biggest thing is in the last 200 years, the change that has happened is one is
Okay.
electricity, which has given human beings an option to work even at night. And the second big change which has happened, especially with this internet booming culture, is you can literally do anything at any time of the day. So if you just go 2 decades back, there was hardly so much possibilities were not there. Your mobile phone was just limited to just calling people and then talking. But right now, the mobile phone itself can do so many things that we can't even think of. So this is something which I feel.
Interesting. Truly interesting. But in your case, when did it start? Like when everything started?
Yeah. So my story is about actually basically in 2019. It was when it started, where actually I was. So initially, it started. The way it started was I started before going to bed. I started reading books. So this was actually creating some kind of feeling that I haven't completed the book and I was about to go to sleep. So I started waking up, and only after finishing the book I used to go to sleep. So this actually is so we know, right, human beings are creatures of habit. So
Yeah.
this actually became a habit for me. But one day actually I saw a TED talk where the author, I mean, basically the narrator is saying is cutting down consciously on sleep is a big no-no because sleep is a very powerful thing and sleep does a lot of things. That actually triggered anxiety in me because I was clearly seeing that I consciously cut down on sleep. That created anxiety in me, and this led into the anxiety, and that was feeding insomnia, and insomnia was feeding anxiety. So this was the vicious cycle that I was going in.
All right. So you were in a circle over and over.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, understood. Well, look, I never experienced insomnia myself. I think I never did.
Okay.
But I remember there was an episode that remains vivid in my memory. So at one point, something unusual happened with my heart,
Okay.
causing some irregular sound.
Mm-hmm.
And now finally everything's good. But at that time, the fear of potential mortality
Mm-hmm.
was too much for me. So leading to several months, if not a year, of the worst sleep I ever had. So I used to wake up every 1 or 2 hours. Sometimes I was trying to be awake purposely because I didn't
Okay.
want to sleep myself. I was really afraid. So
Okay.
during those moments, I remembered thinking to myself, if it's not my heart that takes me, it will be the stress.
Okay.
So my question is, do you think this situation has some similarity also with insomnia?
Uh, yeah, to a certain extent, yes. So, in fact, when you shared this thing with me, I remember like I was also having not exactly the same, but definitely I was having this thing where when I was not, like I told, when I was having anxiety, my heartbeat was definitely faster. So, the more and
Yeah.
more I was not sleeping, I mean, basically, with the time passing, the more and more my heartbeat used to increase, and this created a lot of pressure, like you talked about. So, yeah, this is definitely one of the issue where, since I touched upon in the opening sentence, when you try harder to sleep, you can't go to sleep. So that is the dichotomy with, especially with sleep. So basically, let's say that you want to become a good public speaker. The more and more you try and more you practice, you become
Yeah.
better public speaker,
Yeah.
or anything, as a matter of fact. But especially when it comes to sleep, it's completely the reverse. The harder you try to sleep, the difficult it is. So sleep is effortless, and we have to do it as effortless as possible.
Mm, all right, all right. But now comes also my next question, right? So let's say that I want to sleep
Hmm.
hardly, but I can't.
Okay.
So then I during the months I unfortunately I can't sleep because
Hmm.
I try hardly but nothing. So
Okay.
this insomnia can lead to death one day, yes or not?
uh, No, if you extrapolate that to that extent, Fabio, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to anything is possible if you
Yeah.
extrapolate. But as such, if you read the book by Why We Sleep or anything, our body has that innate capability of putting you into sleep. Okay, so yeah, the mind is agitated, anxious, and all those things, but our body has the intelligence where it can completely shut down the mind, and it can put you into sleep. So that will definitely happen. So when it will
Mm,
happen, it is totally subjective, because you can withstand certain stress, whereas I can withstand maybe very little stress, or maybe I can withstand some more stress compared to you. So that's a totally subjective thing, but a body will definitely put you into sleep. So that is bound to happen. And yeah, see, like, you will die if you go to that extent. It can happen with any extent. So with the food you eat also, you may die, right? So
yeah.
that is complete extrapolation is what I would say.
All right, all right. It's all, as I understood, it depends how much you exceed, how much
Mhm.
how many times you do the same circle.
Correct.
So, yeah, I understand. Of course, if you don't sleep for 4 years, of course, this can bring to death or some several issue. No, get it. And I know that you overcame insomnia through yoga, but before choosing yoga, did you explore other therapies such as a medical treatments, for example,
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah, so I overcame insomnia primarily through the practice of meditation, which is a part of yoga, you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming to the medication part, yeah. So I was also working with a psychologist, kind of a thing, who was working on my thought patterns and all those things. And also, I was working, I had to consult a psychiatrist who diagnosed that I was on anxiety, and he gave me anti anxiety pills. But the thing that really helped me was the practice of meditation, where I persisted with the practice of meditation. And once I was able to do this regularly, what happened was, after the next doctor visit, so initially it started with 5 mg anti-anxiety pill. It was tapered down to 2.5. Then it was tapered down by half, and the next visit it was completely tapered off.
Before we go through, if you're enjoying this podcast, please consider taking just 3 seconds to share it with someone else. It is a small gesture that could make a big difference in someone's day. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode. Mm, okay. I used to do also meditation myself as well and yoga.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if you know. Actually, it's the Yogananda, so Paramahansa Yogananda, Swami
Okay.
Kriyananda.
Okay.
So let's say the classic yoga, Raja yoga.
Okay.
And now unfortunately I stop it, but I really would like to do again. It's interesting how much meditation and yoga can help the people. We truly underestimate it. It's very important, and we choose always the, how can I say, the easy way, right? But how can I say, it's important to know that there are other paths, more chilly than take medication. Even
Yeah.
I believe in the medicine. I believe in the medicine, and I also believe that the medicine is doing a lot, especially in these years. But I also think that we don't try enough ourselves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah. And well, based on your experience, would you say that insomnia is totally curable, Manohar?
Yeah, insomnia is definitely curable, Fabio, because it's from my experience, it is mostly a creation of the mind. Okay,
Okay.
so the part where I was struggling and anxious about sleep was a creation of the mind, and when it was more of a stage where it was a desperation to sleep was so much in my mind, so that it caused a lot of issues with me. And like I talked about, instead of desperation, the practices of meditation created the part of relaxation. So if when I flip the switch, so
Yeah.
instead of desperation, if I flip the switch to relaxation, that is when real change happened. Yeah, but the part of flipping the switch is not as instantaneous as it looks like. So if you just think that it's not as simple as just turning off the desperation switch, so there are a couple of things, and also you need to have patience and do these things of meditation and other sleep rituals and all those things, and only then you will be able to make that flipping that switch.
Okay, super. I'm a person who doesn't sleep so much.
Hmm.
Sometimes I can say I can also sleep for 5 hours, or at times 6, 7. So let's say a medium average of 6 hours and a half per week. All right.
Hmm.
So how do I know, in your opinion, if I'm getting enough good sleep and do not, reach this pathology?
uh, so
In your
that
opinion?
yeah. So yeah, in fact this was the same question, Fabio, which I asked my psychologist, and my psychologist told this simple
Okay.
answer, which was like, if your body, so you should ask your body, if you wake up and if you still feel groggy, right? So it is an
Yeah.
indication saying that your body is saying that you haven't slept enough and you still need some more rest. But if you are able to do your work actively without any challenges, so that is the way to say that the sleep you have taken is enough. So, and the other part, Fabio, is just like so it cannot be something like I talked about initially. Sleep is very natural. So for example, in few days the days are longer and the nights are shorter,
Yeah.
but in the winter it is reverse, right? So some days you may even survive. I mean, not survive is not the right, but you can still be managed with 4 hours of sleep. But maybe there may be a few days where you need more sleep. So boxing it with a particular number is something wrong according to my opinion. So
Mm.
asking your body, so if your body is feeling good enough, feeling refreshed and recharged, so that's a sign to say that you have enough sleep.
That's a really good answer. Thank you. Truly. That's very interesting answer because okay, but I want to go a little bit deeper, right? Let's say
Yeah.
that I I don't know how to read my body. Well,
Mhm.
it's maybe maybe it's a silly assumption because all of us has to know how to read the body, but let's say that I don't know how to read my body very well.
Mhm.
So what happens if I don't get enough sleep? Before I say to you, well, okay, is it possible to reach the depth, yes or not, you say to
Mhm.
me, well, it depends, right? But
Mhm.
this question is more like in a general way. So what happens if
Yeah.
I don't get enough sleep?
Okay. So one of the primary things that happens, Fabio, is related to memory consolidation.
Hmm.
Okay, so I like to just explain with a simple analogy. Let's say
Yeah.
that you are going somewhere out and you have a suitcase, and let's say that the suitcase has so many things already filled by something else. Okay, so the first thing you will be doing is you will empty the suitcase and then put all the stuff which are really needed for your stuff for your travel. So this is exactly what happens when you are sleeping. So when you and I are talking right now, everything, anything, and everything actually goes into the first initially goes into something called as short-term working memory, and then short-term memory is something like a small bucket which can hold some amount of information. But then, see, for example, what you had for breakfast yesterday morning or what you had for breakfast today morning might not be really important for your survival or matter a lot. Okay, so in those case, our brain does something called as pruning, where it removes the memories that are really not necessary, and it just removes them and discards and empties the bucket. Okay, and the memories that are really necessary. So, for example, let's say that you are doing something related to your work, and that is
Hmm.
something you have to remember. So this actually goes into your some the long term memory, which is this part is actually that happens mainly in sleep. Okay, so if you consciously cut down on sleep, what happens is this part of pruning doesn't happen, and your short term memory is always full. Okay, because you don't have enough capacity, you don't have ability to learn, and you don't have ability to retain information. So this is the major problem that happens if you sleep deprive yourself.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, for example, when I sometimes don't sleep so much, so I do really less hours per night, and uh, and I realized in the last months, especially, I used to go from a room to another one,
Mhm.
and uh, and when I was in that room, in the second room, I was asking myself, but what did I have to take from here? You know, it happened to
Mhm.
me so many times. So
Okay.
evidently, is because maybe I didn't sleep so much because it doesn't happen so much often now in the last weeks, but it
Mhm.
happened a lot generally.
Okay.
And I was also there was moments I was also worried, like, oh my god, it's what is this now that I don't remember stuff. But
Okay.
actually happened. It happened only when I used to change environment. For
Okay.
example, from the kitchen, I had to go to the closet.
Mhm.
I opened the closet and then I say myself, okay, it's what I had to take now. You know, so that's also related to not so much sleep then.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. No, no, it's totally interesting. But this situation is gonna affect, like, so far is gonna affect forever, or it's there is some I don't know. Let's say that every condition that you have right now after the sleep, you after a while you can recover properly, or maybe there is some effect that is going to be so far during the years. So how it works in the case?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. So sleep patterns, if you improve your sleep patterns, automatically the recovery also starts by getting better. And
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Say, Manor. Sorry.
yeah, that is what I was
Okay.
trying to tell, that if you improve your sleep patterns over a period of time, the memory consolidation also improves, and as a matter of fact, our health also increase. And the other part, Fabio, which I want to say is, what happens is, uh, in our nervous system, our automatic nervous system has two parts, which is called, one is called as the sympathetic nervous system, and the other one is called the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is called the fight or flight, or basically whenever you are doing activities which require a lot of energy. So, for example, then your heart has to beat faster, it has to pump blood faster, and those
Okay.
kinds of things. And the other part, which is the converse, is called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is called the rest and digest, where the body relaxes and the nerves, the heartbeat slows down and the blood flow and everything slows down. So what happens is, when you sleep well, the ratio between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is maintained, and you have less chances of getting any diseases. So that is one thing which also you have to consider.
Super.
Yeah,
Super. Thank you. Uh, as we are near the end of the show, right? So I have another question for you, Manohar.
yeah.
Through your journey, so how would you define yourself today after you overcame, this insomnia, and you also wrote a book, as I know, as you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So how would you define yourself right now after this experience?
Okay. So yeah, I would define myself as someone who struggled initially. Okay, but then able to walk the extra mile to do something. See, for example, when I was doing this path, I was giving up on meditation initially. But then, if you read my book, I have clearly told that I have this switching from one form of meditation to other form of meditation, and those kinds of things. But then I persisted with this thing. So I would say that I am someone who, when starting something, may take some time, but the one thing which I have taken or learned is, anything can be learned with the simple practice of persistence.
Perfect. Persistence. Right. As everything, actually, persistent, consistent discipline. I think it's the key to overcome everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You're totally right. And is there anything else that would you like to share with us before to conclude, Manohar? Tell me.
Yeah. So yeah, the one thing which I'd like to share,
Hmm.
Fabio, is, so we live in an era where there is so much of instant gratification.
Yeah.
So we have so many mobile. I mean, the mobile itself, we have so many things and all those things. Yeah. So one cool experiment which I have read, or which I keep sharing also, is the marshmallow experiment, which was done in the year 1970s, kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
basically, the experiment was a simple thing. What they told us, kids who were of 7 to 8 years, they were brought into a room, and then they were given a marshmallow with a simple instruction saying that you have to stop eating marshmallow, wait for 15 minutes, and then if you wait for 15 minutes, you will get another marshmallow. Okay, so
Okay.
that was the simple thing. But there were few kids who couldn't resist the temptation on seeing the marshmallow, and then
Yeah.
they immediately ate it. But there were few kids who were able to resist the temptation, and then they waited for 15 minutes before eating, and the kids were given the second marshmallow. But the experiment actually doesn't end here. What they noticed is the kids who were able to resist the temptation, the instant gratification, people who were able to resist that instant gratification and wait, this concept is called as delayed gratification. People who were able to implement the delayed gratification, what they found was they were way successful in their marriages, in their jobs, in their businesses when they did this checked for people after 25 years. So this is what I want to say. When we live in an era of instant gratification, but we need to also learn to do delayed gratification. So this is what I would say.
Wow, to have a better income in the future. So it's true anyway. You're right. We live in this fast era of social media, everything fast. We want to succeed fastly, but the truth is that if you take the right path and you are patient, then you're gonna get the big marshmallow. I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's I love it. And Manohar, thank you so much for joining us. And it was a pleasure having you here on the Fabio podcast. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and inspiring others. Take care and best of luck with your future.
Thank you, Fabio, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my story.
Of course. Bye, Manohar. Thank you. Here we are. Congratulations. You just finished my entire episode. So, the only thing I ask is to take a moment to give Journey to Success a rating. By the way, thank you so much for being here on Journey to Success. I'm very grateful. Thank you and see you next time.